Everyone. Greetings from the USA. Welcome. Here talking to you from downtown Manhattan, actually Midtown Manhattan, on a breezy fall day in New York City. So I'm going to wait for a few minutes, make sure everybody's joining us in the room. Please come in and say hello as we gather.
And we've started a poll. If you see a poll pop up, we would just like to know what region you are joining us from. I'm in Brooklyn, New York. Don't be, I'm sure you can tell that from my accent. I'm definitely a Brooklyner. But welcome.
Okay, welcome. So I'm going to get started. For those of you who are popping in along the way, welcome. As I said, here we are. Joining you from different parts of the USA today. My name's Eimear Harrison, and I hope many of our colleagues and friends are here today. I'm the Executive Vice President of Rennert International. We've been in New York City for 46 years, and I'm a lifelong educator. I've had a career, and my career here in the industry has been 25 years in New York. And as I like to call myself, I'm an inmate. Not a prisoner, an inmate. So I'm delighted to have this opportunity to introduce you to my colleagues here today, presenting at the wonderful Leaders Conference. What a tremendous opportunity. We came to the table quite late in the game, but we're here and delighted to represent the USA. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my colleague, Cheryl Delk-Le. Cheryl is a champion for all us language programs here in the US. She has been executive director of the EnglishUSA organization for almost 6 years now. And Cheryl has been a teacher, she's been a program coordinator, she's been a program administrator, and now she is a champion for schools in the USA. So welcome from Cheryl. And also I'm delighted to join us today is Caroline McKinnon. Caroline McKinnon is my esteemed colleague here at Rennert, and she herself is also a former director of studies. She's currently directing our TESOL courses. She's director of courses. And like me, she has made the US her home. She's also director of an organization for immigrant women here in the US to elevate their stature, teaching them English and other skills. So welcome to our colleagues. And without further ado, I'm going to ask Cheryl to give you an update on the USA.
Great. Thank you, Eimear and Caroline, and I appreciate this opportunity. I'm originally from Chicago, but I am now based in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'll give you a little geography quiz in just a minute. But the EnglishUSA is a trade association that supports and represents accredited post-secondary English programs in the U.S. We've been around 1986, so quite a few years. Those years start adding up. When Eimear mentioned 25 years in the field, I didn't want to do my math. But those years add up. And as she said, we're gonna talk a little bit about the U.S. And it's a daunting task to speak about a country our size with the diversity that we have. And many of you might be familiar or who have either visited or maybe even sent students or as a tourist or studied in our big three, Texas, California, and New York. But we'd like to talk a little bit more broadly about the country today when it comes to the English language program study. But just for fun, where in the U.S. is Georgia? I don't know if you found it on the map there. But we're in the Southeast, and I'm highlighting Georgia because I happen to be here. It's also being quite highlighted in the U.S.-based news these days related to our elections, if you're following that. But just to show you the attraction to any state in the United States to come and study for educational, personal, professional reasons. Professionally. Or personally, the Olympics were here. Large companies, Coca-Cola, UPS, Home Depot, Delta, large companies that attract people studying business, for example. And also a little known fact outside of the US is that Georgia has become the Hollywood of the East, with many films and TV series, with all of that binging that's going on lately. There were actually more things filmed here in Georgia in the past year than out on the West Coast. So Walking Dead and Stranger Things. That's just a few fun facts. I wish we had 50 hours to spend an hour, on every state, but we're actually just going to give an overview and then talk about some of the challenges and successes in this past year. So we're made up of over 200 accredited member programs in 41 of the states. And accredited is the important word here. We have two accrediting bodies in addition to the accrediting bodies situated in higher ed. But EnglishUSA was pivotal years ago in getting that law passed. In order to issue I-20s for a student to get a visa, you actually had to obtain accreditation. So all of our programs are accredited. We have 6 different types of programs. I'm going to focus really just on 2 broader categories today. Over 80% of our programs are situated on university, community college campuses. We're a support group, as I mentioned, so we offer a lot of events for our members, meetups, best practice, webinars. I do many presentations throughout the year, very similar to this one. And we also have associates. Those are service providers. We have some agents, agent networks, textbook publishers, testing companies, a wide variety of associates. And that's something that some of you on the call may be interested in. I can share some information with you one-on-one. And we have 5 strategic partners, very important to us. One is government related, the Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service, but also the PI, which you may have heard, which we're probably most familiar with, and then AIRC, Bonard, and ISEF, which are quite well known throughout the world. So that's just kind of who we are. So later on, if you want to check out our website, I gave you some information about Georgia, but if you have students, or if you yourself, or if you are making connections overseas here in the US, be sure to check out our website because we have members everywhere, almost everywhere. You can guess those 9 states where we're not located. A little trivia question later on, but you can do a search of our programs very easily on our website. So back to that daunting task. Eimear, Caroline, and I are here to say that the United States is open for students seeking degree study, professional reasons, personal reasons. We are open, despite the challenges.
Yes, we are.
Despite those challenges that we'll be talking about a little bit. And please, I didn't say this, Caroline and Eimear, but at any point, I can't see you, but at any point, please just pipe in if you have something that you want to add. These challenges are not the first challenges, not new to anybody, but for many years, we've been struggling a little bit with all besides COVID, okay? But for many years, we've been struggling a little bit with the proposals and perception based on some policies that have been proposed, not necessarily enacted, but proposed. And the markets, for English language students have been shrinking and costs are rising. Those are knowns over the past couple of years. And then, of course, when you add COVID-19 into that mix, that is a challenge that we're all facing. And in the U.S., we'll talk about this a little bit more. I think Caroline and Eimear will talk about Rennert in particular. As a country, our protocols and such are based on a state basis and sometimes even on a local basis. The good news is that those protocols are in place, but they're definitely at the state level. So, and the trends, I mentioned the shrinking market. This is a graph that is published by IIE, the Institute of International Education. They had their Open Doors report this week, actually, on international students as a whole, but they also do a report for English language programs, IEPs, that came out in August. This graph is not new to us. We study it every year, and we talk about the fact that even though international student enrollments in the U.S. has remained fairly constant over the years, we have seen these rebounds for English language programs also reflected. And you can see, first one was a rebound after 9/11, the Asian economic crisis, some scholarship programs that came in. But as we mentioned, we're here today to talk about how we're meeting some of these challenges, and we do assume and are optimistic that we will also return back to a peak in the not so distant future, we'll say. So as we mentioned, we are open, and some proof of this is in a survey done among our members. You'll see here that 95% of our member programs are currently offering courses, English language courses. We had a little bit of a scare back in the beginning of the summer from a proposed policy connected to requiring in-person study versus a potential mix or online, and you'll see that all types are reflected here. Some people are kind of surprised, how is it that that programs are able to offer in-person courses? And we're going to share that example in just a bit. But as you can see, plenty of opportunities, and given the diversity of the U.S., plenty of locations and types of programs to choose from. So we wanted to share a few successes, ongoing characteristics of EnglishUSA and its members. I had already mentioned the accrediting bodies, and it's, in addition to the fact that our programs must be accredited, with that accreditation obviously comes quality, but our connection with those bodies, which are at arm's length in the US, meaning that they are independent. EnglishUSA has we have no representation on that commission. It's an independent, that's highly regarded as the independence is highly regarded in the U.S. However, the accrediting bodies share their data with us. We share their data with them. It is a mutually beneficial relationship, because that way they know what the challenges are. They're very aware, because they have to report to the Department of Education, so they're aware of those challenges. But it's a relationship where best practices and flexibility is taken into consideration. So you can count on that when it comes to EnglishUSA programs. And the student path, we talk about the student path often in the US, because that path starts when the student is still in his or her country, obviously, if they're coming to the US to study. And that path continues beyond the degree if the student is a degree-seeking student, and also alumni. Alumni are very important to Americans, and important to the American educational system. So we follow that path of the student. The student is the highest priority as a membership organization, and also among the accrediting bodies. And then the institutional support. This is important always, but during COVID, it has become even more important, in that a lot of institutions of higher ed have resources in place. They have protocols related to COVID that are often stricter than local or state protocols where they're located. In more than 85% of our programs, they're either governed by the institution, situated on the institution, or they collaborate with an institution, and thereby have to follow those protocols as well. So that institutional support is another layer of support and quality for our programs. Our outreach and connections, here we are, a member program, Rennert, and I got together to do this session. So here's one connection. We also have, I'm just going to focus on the middle block there of visuals. I mentioned IIE. We're a key partner when it comes to collecting that data. And then some of these others you may not be as familiar with, but these are teaching organizations. These are agent networks. NAFSA is probably one that you all know. The Alliance for International Exchange is very important and very, very, what's the word, influential when it comes to the US government, because they actually have a lobbying arm. They have a lobbyist that communicates with the members of Congress. So that these connections are very important. And on a regular basis, I'm preparing joint statements with these groups. We present at each other's conferences, but we're a small group compared to these, but we sit next to them, not as a child-parent relationship, but we are partners. To the left, well, to your left, Mary, the contributions to the industry, the U.S. Commercial Services Department of Commerce, they're a strategic partner for EnglishUSA, and education has moved up. It's bordering on being the 5th largest service export in the U.S. It's now the 6th, but it's almost there. And we were so fortunate to partner on a certified trade mission last year to Brazil and Colombia. We took 25 member programs there to recruit students, to talk with agents, to make partners, connections. COVID did stop that for this year, but we're looking forward to both virtual and then again in-person opportunities in the future. And then over to the right, the voice of the industry. We're often called upon, I'm called upon, the board is called upon to speak to, for example, to speak to advisors for the Department of State, to speak to advisors, which I did just a few weeks ago for the East Asia Pacific region. But when a body or a group or an agency wants to know the status of the English language program industry in the U.S., we're the ones that they call. And our successes, not everyone has this attitude, but I know that my partners in crime here on the call, Eimear and Caroline, we're challenged, but we're excited about those challenges because we know that there's growth to be had. And my example is just over the last 8 months during this period of COVID, I've met more people than I've met on the road in the past 5 years in this job, because there's more access, the accessibility for events and such. Most organizations and associations have mentioned this. We're very action oriented. EnglishUSA was pivotal in the Accreditation Act, and we are also, we rise to the occasion. We've had a few proposals come from the government that are unfriendly proposals towards international students. And EnglishUSA and its members have taken action on those. Currently, there's one that is still under review, and I believe at last count there were nearly 30,000 comment letters that had been submitted. I'd like to say at least 10,000 of those came from EnglishUSA, but I know at least about 900 did. So, and then advocating. We had a very successful conference last month. Our stakeholders event was the largest ever. And it's also our presence in DC, although it was virtual. These are our stakeholders that we often visit, that I often visit, and that we have contact with in DC. So there's definitely a presence there. So I wanted to, here's my contact information, but I wanted to flip it over to Caroline and Eimear to share some information about Rennert.
Yeah, actually, thank you, Cheryl. I think it's important to, I think all of you and all of our colleagues across the industry have been experiencing, like really, I mean, this conference is minds together working on the future in our industry, and a lot of passions are, you know, in adversity, passion comes out, and out of crisis comes invention. And I think that's very important to emphasize about the US. When I first came to this industry 25 years ago, universities and English language programs had fundamentally no relationship. They were teaching English as a second language to immigrants, but over time, and the colleagues who have joined the industry here in the US will know, because of crises like this and the importance of our international students, our colleges and universities are becoming more engaged. And that's the most important thing that we've seen out of this. Even just yesterday, our own ownership, which is Berkeley College, are really hearing our demand for international students to have more short-term programs, more certificate programs, more things that they can accomplish in a short time, more stackable programs. So if our language programs have students coming back year after year, let them get an English plus certificate to take back home. And that is all opportunity for you, our partners. If, you know, those of us who endure and withstand in the industry, you know, out of our EnglishUSA conference and the great group that was gathered at the conference, like our members from ERSI, from PI, from Study Travel Magazine, from ISAF, they let us know, and I don't know if you've heard, that more US institutions are actually using agents now. And that is a gain for our market, for our selling market. They also told us, I think ISAF was it that mentioned that of the agents that they polled, 72% had established new partnerships this year. So we encourage you to keep engaging as you are today, and to getting together with your partners and partner schools, and, you know, really keeping the relationships out there and creating new things that are sellable in the market that our students are looking for. I think, you know, it's very important to mention, and we can come back around to this, but visa and travel restrictions were the two biggest things holding back the USA. Well, guess what? We just had an election, and cautiously optimistic, but not that cautiously, we know that, you know, the future president potential's wife is an educator. And actually, Joe Biden stepped in to address conferences in Washington, D.C. to assure U.S. educators that they have an important place at the table of education as an American export. So, you know, we heard from our friends at the conference that, for example, in Brazil, students were concerned about COVID, and the number one destination that they were concerned about was the USA. But that the number one destination that they wanted to return to was the USA. So I think that, Caroline, I wonder if you can share the images of our school. One thing that we are in the USA is resilient. I was here in programs after September 11th. Our students left, they were still in love with the USA, but they came back again. And the US is, and the language, English language taught in the USA is so vital to international students that all of our language programs are finding ways to, you know, the importance of delivering American English. So if you have students that can partner with American language programs, they are learning American business English. Our own students are engaging on that topic.
Eimear, sorry to interrupt. Cheryl, could I take control of the screen, please? Sharing, please. Thank you.
There you go. So it's very important to know also, because many of our colleagues have partnerships with colleges and relationships with colleges, they're encouraging more products for international students to engage them. And I think one thing that's very important to note is that we, you know, in crisis, you gather together with your colleagues. We are directors of studies. We're talking with EC and their directors of studies, with St. Giles and their directors of studies, with all the language schools that are here, making sure that we all had and were knowledgeable and up to date about policies of safety, security, of ideas on how to engage their teachers through Zoom, of ideas on how to, you know, there are many students that are still studying here and engaged and enjoying their language courses here. The COVID restrictions are like, post 9/11, people see what they see on the news, but actually on the ground, it's a different story. New York City is open. New York City is running. Our other destinations, we talk to colleagues in California. Students are coming to class. They're enjoying their classes and they're engaging. They're enjoying hybrid learning. Our teachers are very adept at the transition to hybrid learning. I've heard our teachers proclaim that they can deliver equally engaging classes on Zoom as they can actually now in the classroom. Caroline, if you want to talk a little bit about our turnaround between shutdown and getting back online again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly proud of the way that not just Rennert, but New York in general dealt with COVID. However, it would be wrong if I were not to mention the fact that at Rennert, we were the first really to go online. We took a decision very early on. We closed our school, reacted by closing the school on a Thursday and being completely online with all of our programs by the Monday. And that included setting up all of our teachers with their own accounts on Zoom, on Microsoft, getting materials to them, instructing the students how to do this. And our classes picked up with minimal disruption to our students. And in fact, our teacher training programs were online in less than 24 hours because we were in the middle of a very tight training course, and it was all occurred during the early hours of the morning when we managed to get online. Our students were in New York. They saw what was happening on the ground. They saw the way that the colleges were reacting. Berkeley College worked with us endlessly. Every day our staff were in to make sure that the schools were safe and clean. We at Rennert, we have an app that our students use and our staff use every day as a health check. Our policies were very, very clear. And we've in fact trained our teachers on online learning practices as well, best practices. We had the advantage of Berkeley College being one of the top online educators in the US, and that trickled down. And because we are a small school and with our own teacher training and training department, we were able to really embrace online learning and take it very quickly from the let's go online immediately to react to a situation to actually develop a very, very strong product. So much so that we've seen it as an opportunity to expand our programs, and this has really benefited our students.
Right. Caroline, I'd just like to, Caroline, sorry to cut you off. I know that we have a limited time, and
yep.
The comment was made, and Cheryl, I don't know if you have anything that you want to respond to this. It is true that Canada has completely overtaken the US in welcoming volumes of students to their destination. I think, one of the things that I think is very important to note, price has been a huge factor on that, and price is a topic I think that's on the lips of a lot of our partner institutions, especially in the arena of extra programs that they can take. I think one of the things that we just discussed yesterday was that students being able to earn in destinations where they can't in the US. I think we're going to see a lot more programs, college programs with online, and the ability for students to come to the US to do their OPT, their optional practical training, where they can actually earn money. They have to take 2 semesters here in the US before they can get an optional practical training part to their visa that will allow them to work 1 year, but it doesn't mean that they can't complete combination programs online and in person. I think it's very important for us to get together. Andrew, we would welcome you at the table to discuss really how we can get the US back on track. But again, the major hurdles to that in the past have been lack of ability to influence our government. Check. I think Cheryl has shared, she was a bit more humble about some of those things. We, as you know, all our action to overturn some of the regulations that we were forcing students to come into class instead of being able to stay online, boom, they were gone because of the growth of influence organizations like EnglishUSA have, and also because of the future president opening doors and realizing that education is so high up on the export level, I think we're going to see a lot more doors open than we have in the last 10 years, I would say.
And I would agree with Eimear.
Words to say about that, because I think time's up.
Yeah. I mean, I would finish, and there's been lots of chatting here about this, and I just think it's really important for everyone to know that it's not, we are really open for business, and we do bounce back, and we have incredibly happy students, and we would be happy to, show you. And I think lots of members of EnglishUSA would be very happy to show people how it works in practice. It's a really good period of time for us. So thank you for coming along.
And Mara, I just want to say, we're going to talk to Biden after this and make sure that we get the doors open for Brazilians. So please tell our friends at Belta. We love you guys.
But thank you all for coming today. Really, it's a nice opportunity to be able to speak. And as you can see, we have some of our pictures just going through of New York in person, what's happening. We're back, we're visiting museums, we're visiting tourist attractions with our students, and it's something that they really do love. And I think that's not enough information is put out about us being open.
Yeah, we are open. Thank you everyone for your attendance. Thank you to the Leaders Conference for giving us the opportunity to join, and thank you to all of you for coming. Thanks to EnglishUSA for all the hard work they do, and especially all the growth that we've experienced under Cheryl's leadership. So
absolutely,
have a great afternoon. We'll be on again at some ungodly hour of the morning. I can't even tell. But please reach out to us anytime. All the best from New York.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.